Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. This is a bit of a different video today. This is things you need to know if you're visiting Cambridge from a local. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, and let's get started. Normally I talk about productivity and I talk about mental health on this channel, but this is a lifestyle video. Now, I was born in Cambridge and I grew up here. So I lived in Cambridge for over 20 years and I am now back living here after I graduated from Durham. So I know a decent amount about Cambridge, and I thought I would make a little video on things you need to know if you're visiting Cambridge, because it is a massive tourist attraction, like a tourist hotspot, and I feel extremely lucky that I get to call it my home city, and I genuinely love Cambridge so much. And I feel like I don't talk about that often enough on this channel. I feel like I've made a few Cambridge vlogs in which it kind of comes across like the love I have for my home city, but I wanted to make this video because it kind of brings together a lot of my local knowledge and it might help you if you are visiting Cambridge. Right, the first one is kind of a pet peeve of mine, but the university isn't just one building, although the Senate House is a very impressive landmark. It's a series of college buildings scattered throughout the city. So a question that I sometimes get is like, where's the university? It's everywhere, okay? In some ways the city is the university because they own most of the land, okay? So a lot of the shops in the centre of town, the university will be the landlord of those businesses, okay? The university owns the vast majority of land in Cambridge. So yeah, the university is everywhere. The university is not one building. The university is all the college buildings, it's the Senate House, it's, you know, it's all of it's a significant amount of the land in Cambridge, basically. So, the second thing you need to know is it is essentially always tourist season, okay? There isn't really an off season for Cambridge. Obviously the summer is busier, and if you visit in the summer, it will be wall-to-wall tourists, but there will be tourist crowds 99% of the time, no matter what. If you're looking for a time to visit Cambridge where there will be absolutely zero tourists, you are going to be very disappointed. It is always tourist season, okay? I mean, the only time when Cambridge is like completely deserted was A, during the pandemic, and let's hope that doesn't happen again, and B, on like Christmas Day, like in the evening of Christmas Day. That is the only time that you will find Cambridge deserted. Like the rest of the time there will always be some kind of tourist activity, okay? So it is basically always tourist season because it's so popular. The city is a very academically focused environment, okay? And that is to be expected because it is home to one of the best universities in the world. And that means that the museums are absolutely amazing. So if you're visiting Cambridge, please, please, please visit the museums, okay? They are so good, and I was immensely privileged to grow up visiting the Cambridge museums because I honestly think that fostered a lot of my intellectual curiosity, and they are just fascinating and I love them so much, and I will never get bored of visiting the Cambridge museums. Like, I could absolutely have seen an exhibit a million times and I will still be just as excited to see it right now as I was when I was 6 years old, okay? So it literally never gets old for me. I would particularly recommend the Sedgwick Museum, which is a lot of geological history and geographical history, or the Fitzwilliam Museum, which is great if you like a sort of more art or portrait focused gallery. But there's loads of museums like the Zoology Museum, the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, the Whipple Museum, the Museum of Classical Archaeology, the Folk Museum. So any museum in Cambridge is great. Like, I have my favourites, like the Sedgwick is my favourite, but you're gonna have a great time whatever museum you want to go to. Okay, punting is a very popular activity. For those of you who don't know, punting refers to poling yourself along the river in a flat boat with a large wooden pole, okay? And that means you'll probably get bothered by punt outs who are like, come on our punting tour, okay? You don't have to talk to them unless you want to. You can also book online if you want a punt tour. Nobody's telling you have to do a punt tour. It is a very Cambridge thing to do. It's also kind of an Oxford thing to do, but there are like punt outs everywhere. And they can be very persistent. So you can go punting, you don't have to, it is fun, but also it can get a bit like, you know, overwhelming. Watch out for the bikes, there are bikes everywhere. Cambridge is a very bike focused city, and the bike infrastructure and the sort of like bike focus is kind of, I think if you're not used to it, I think I am used to it, so I don't really notice it now. And also I've been cycling since I was like 3 years old, so it's very ingrained into me. And when I went to Durham, I actually bought a bike because I couldn't be without my bike for that long. So Cambridge is a very bike focused city, and that means you will see like loads of cyclists, like crowds of cyclists everywhere you go, like literally everywhere you go. And there's like bike paths, okay? So it's a great city if you want to do like a cycling tour, but also watch out because there will be bikes everywhere. So, the train station is kind of a bit of way out of town. It is walkable, but getting the bus is better if you arrive with a lot of luggage. So, fun fact, the reason that the train station is so far out of town, and it's not like far, but it's not like in the centre of town, so I think it's noticeable because usually in cities like London, Manchester, you know, other cities, like the train station is usually kind of in the main train station is like in the centre of town. It's not that way in Cambridge. The reason for this is that the university had it built outside the city limits at the time to deter students sneaking off to London instead of studying. So that is why the train station is where it is. But yeah, if you arrive with luggage, then you can just jump on a bus and get into the city centre pretty quickly. Right, let's talk about the main parks. The main 3 public parks are Midsummer Common, Jesus Green and Parker's Piece. Midsummer Common is where most fun fairs are hosted. Jesus Green has a very unique tree-lined avenue and lovely river views, although to be fair, you can find really lovely river views everywhere in Cambridge. And Parker's Piece is the most central. The lamppost in the middle is called Reality Checkpoint. The joke is that you're most likely to walk into it when you're drunk, and therefore it serves as a sort of checkpoint to reality. Honourable mention also to Christ Pieces, which is the park just outside Christ College and home to the Princess Diana Memorial Garden. So I highly recommend that you visit one of the Cambridge parks because they are beautiful, and you have like cows grazing on them in the summer on Midsummer Common, and you'll probably find like some kind of event or a fun fair on Parker's Piece. There's usually a Christmas market, for example. Okay, so the parks are great and I highly recommend them, and the tree-lined avenue on Jesus Green is legitimately one of my favourite spots in Cambridge. I love trees. Anyway, you may have guessed from my channel name that I love trees. You will probably encounter a fair bit of homelessness. So the housing market and inequality are both enormous issues in Cambridge. So Cambridge absolutely has a homelessness problem, and we need to do better at like helping people out, to be honest. And the inequality and the housing market. Now, I am in a relatively privileged financial position, and I found it really stressful house hunting. Like, the housing market in Cambridge is absolutely nuts, and I feel like very lucky to have got the apartment that I did get, and it was difficult. And I say that as someone who was in a relatively stable position, and you know, I was very lucky and it still stressed me out. So you'll probably encounter a fair bit of homelessness because the inequality in the housing market in Cambridge are both absolutely nuts. Okay, that was a bit darker, so let's end this video on a more fun note, and let's talk about cake. The best cake shop in Cambridge is Fitzbilly's. They literally have 3 locations now, so you have to visit, there's no excuse, and the Chelsea buns are really nice, although they're not necessarily for everyone because they are super sweet, but I recommend you try them at least once. The cake shops are like, they're so nice. Okay, there used to be one Fitzbilly's, and then Fitzbilly's almost closed for a while, which was very sad, and now they have reopened and they've gone from strength to strength, and there are literally 3 locations. So Fitzbilly's is maybe one of the most Cambridge things ever, and you have to visit. I'm sorry, it's compulsory, you have to go. Like, as a local, I absolutely adore Fitzbilly's, and it's one of those things that is extremely popular with tourists and also extremely popular with locals because it's just good. And kind of further to that point, obviously Fitzbilly's is a Cambridge institution and it's been around for so long. A slight newcomer to the Cambridge dessert market, but nevertheless extremely popular with both locals and tourists, and rightfully so, is Jack's Gelatos. Okay, they have 2 locations and they do the best ice cream in Cambridge. Now, there's some very good ice cream throughout Cambridge, but Jack's Gelatos is the best. I say that as, you know, someone, I've tried loads of ice cream in Cambridge and they are the best and they deserve the popularity that they have. They have a sort of a very seasonal menu and they change it up and they have a lot of different flavours. One of the ones that is really cool is the King's College lavender flavour, which is great, and they do sort of really quirky flavours that you just don't get anywhere else, and their ice cream is just genuinely very, very good. And they do hot chocolate in the winter as well. So whatever time of year you visit, I highly recommend that you visit Jack's Gelatos because they're great and they are popular with literally everyone for a good reason. Alright, so that was like a random collection of things that you should know if you're visiting Cambridge from a local, someone who was born here and has lived here most of my life and recently moved back and is loving it. I love Cambridge so much. If you're visiting, I hope you have a wonderful time, and there is no bad time to visit Cambridge, but in the summer it is absolutely beautiful. So there's that, but there is no bad time to visit Cambridge and you will probably have a wonderful time. I hope you will. If you are not already subscribed, make sure to do that, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!